I can multitask.
All right, everyone, welcome to Saturday Afternoon Poetry. It's the first Saturday of the month, and that means it's time to write. We have a very, very special poet guesting today to help us write, and that's Gia Civerolo. Oh, there she is.
Yay! Thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And I'm very excited to be here. And I thank Dawn for giving me this opportunity. And also, too, I'm a big fan of Four Feather Publishing. So definitely check out Saturday Afternoon Poets. I'm going to turn in my relative poems later after this workshop. So go ahead and hit the presentation, please.
Okay, you got it. Mhm.
So we're going to do erasure poems today. But I kind of want to start out Michelle and Hope and Nate. They're kind of familiar with the Sims and CLI way to begin. So I just kind of want to introduce ourselves and say your pronouns, where you're from, how you're feeling, very quick, and what type of art inspires you. If you don't feel like participating verbally, then just type it in the chat. So I'm Gia Civerolo. I'm from the South Bay in Los Angeles. I'm feeling pretty good, although I have a Halloween hangover because I pretty much went out every night. Um, and then after I wrote this prompt, I kind of thought, well, I like so many types of art. I love movies, TV, still photography, poetry, paintings, dance, theater. So I feel like you can get inspiration from it all. So if anybody wants to speak, go ahead and raise your hand or put stuff in the chat so we can kind of get to know each other a little bit.
Well, I can go next.
Thanks, Rose.
So, my pen name is R.A. Roth, which is Irish for redhead. And let's see, pronouns, she, her. And where I'm from is a long question, but I'll make it short by saying I've lived, worked, and traveled in something like 19% of the countries of the world. And currently live in the Maritimes, the Canadian Eastern provinces. And how am I feeling? Pretty good. I always enjoy coming to poetry. It's like this moment that anchors me in the week. And the type of art that inspires me. Oh wow. I like art that makes me think, that makes me look at things in a different way. An example would be the Michelangelo sculptures called the Slaves, because he saw a sculpture not as something that he created, but as something he released from the stone, that it was in there already. And he has a series of sculptures of, I guess, men um, emerging from the stone. And sometimes it's just their face, and sometimes it's an arm reaching out, but the other arm is still caught inside the stone. And they're quite something. I mean, you can look at them for hours and really see how he saw his art. So that's the kind of thing I like, something that kind of changes my worldview.
Well, thank you,
Next.
Rose. And that kind of fits in with our theme because part of what erasure poetry is changing it from what it originally was. So you're right on, you're right in sync with us.
You accidentally muted yourself, Gia.
Oh, I was going to say, does anyone else want to go?
I can go
I can,
next.
oh,
Go ahead, Nate.
Excellent, no problem. Thank you. Again, thank you, Gia, for inviting me. This is awesome. I feel free to call me Nate. My pen name is Nathan J. Lee. I'm originally from the wonderful state of Mississippi. Here now in California, I love being here. It's always sunny, always feeling great. So I'm feeling great. I love being able to be here in such a warm and welcoming environment. The type of art that inspires me are simple things like the simplicity of actions, like going onto the bus, sitting on the train, like literally listening to the alarm clock in the morning, like the most simplistic actions kind of inspire me to write more and more. So I'm attracted to a very, very simple one act type of movements. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate. Again, I feel like that kind of fits into our theme because, part of erasure is kind of like getting to the bones and meat of things. So, anybody else want to?
Okay,
Yeah,
I can go
yeah,
next.
yeah.
Okay, I'm Jackie Chow. I'm pronouns she, her. I'm from Southern California, Los Angeles area, but now I live in Pico Rivera. And how am I feeling? I'm very hopeful about today's workshop. Finally get to see Gia again after reading so many poems published in different places by you. And what type of art inspires me? I like found art, maybe when you're walking on the street and there's like a tire marks left on the concrete, or sometimes visual art in museums. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Again, I love that everybody's feeding into my theme because the other name for erasure poems are found poems. So that's great. Anybody else?
I'll share. I'm Robert Fleming.
Yeah, Michelle.
He, him.
Thank
I'm
you.
from Lewis, Delaware, United States. I'm feeling peaceful. I like art that sells. I sell my books on Amazon, and I admire the writers who are the best sellers. And also I admire the artists who sell their art at auction houses for millions of dollars. And I want to be that type of writer and artist.
All right, Robert, you need to do a workshop on marketing because I need help because I am not a bestseller author. So I definitely could use your help. Anybody else?
Okay, I am my pen name is Koloki. He, him. I was born and born again in Oklahoma, and I was unborn again in Pasadena. The kind of art. Well, I'm inspired by I took my pen name. How I got my pen name is I took it from reading John Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath, and like Tom, the hero in Grapes of Wrath. I came to Oklahoma. I came to California from Oklahoma, and also became a union member as a teacher. So anyway, that was my. As far as the convention arts, of course, Van Gogh's Starry Night is a big hit with me.
Thank you, Carl. And why don't you tell everybody how old you are? I'm
Oh yeah,
probation.
I'm 90.
Woohoo.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
thank you, Carl. Anybody else?
I can go. I'll go.
Okay, Michelle.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Michelle Smith. My pronouns are she and her. I'm from Los Angeles, the La Ciudad de Angels, and the best place in the world that the World Series won. Yoo-hoo! I'm glad for another
You
Dodger series, maybe. I wish I was there to see it all, but that's all
Title
right.
Town, Title Town.
Absolutely, Carl. Absolutely, Calgary. Absolutely. I'm so happy to be in a city that proves that we're the best. Anyway, what art inspires? Oh, how am I feeling? I'm feeling great. I'm glad to be part of this poetry group today. Gia, thank you and Don for having us today. I'm looking forward to learning. And what art inspires me? I like what Jackie Chow said earlier about the sidewalks. We can see all that everywhere. Sidewalks, 3D everywhere, urban art and the freeways and buildings. However, I'm also inspired by art that my son does. My son is autistic adult. He goes to an art program. So when I see the art that he and his other artists create, artists and ceramics, that inspires me to realize that art is beautiful, colorful, and unique as they are as individuals and as artists.
Thank you, Michelle. And yes, Christopher's
You're
art is
welcome.
fantastic.
Thank you, Gia. Thank you.
We'll have to promote him next time he has a show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So anybody else?
I can go.
Hi, Hope.
My name is Hope Cerna. It's also my pen name. My pronouns are she, her, and I am from California, lived my entire life in the Los Angeles area, and I'm feeling kind of okay today. I just had I went all the way to San Diego for a concert, and I'm gonna be completely honest, I woke up like an hour before this workshop started, so I'm a little out of it still. Um, the art that inspires me, I would definitely have to say the kind that tells a story, the kind that makes me forget where I am. Like, I love art if I'm looking at it and I just can't stop thinking about it and I forget where I am. Like recently I just picked up this art print from like a small artist at a market, and I've been trying to write a poem about it because every time I look at it I just like stop and I can't, I'm like hypnotized by it because it's just so great. Um yeah, those are definitely the type of art that I love the most. And yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Hope. And that's ekphrasia. That's like we can make am I saying it right? But we can have another workshop on that someday.
It's
Um,
acrostic, yeah.
oh, thank you, Ruth. um, next.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Sharon Williams. It's good to be here today. 10 minutes before this workshop, had a plumbing emergency. So I think I managed to stop it, but I've got my eyes and ears kind of pointed to the right. That's where the bathroom is. But just like a writer, almost nothing could stop me when I get ready to show up at a writing workshop. Try to be here no matter what. So I'm really glad to be here right now. Trying to relax though, trying to calm down a little bit. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm from currently the Los Angeles area, born and raised in New York. And well, I was feeling good. I'm a little edgy right now because of the plumbing situation, but I'm feeling good. And the type of art that inspires me is probably all of it. Um, I've tried my hand at everything. I say I'm a B student in probably in all of it. Uh, I love arts and crafts, paintings, big Picasso fan always. I've got the prints on the wall, usually Cubism period. Just all around drawings. I'm inspired by all of it. It all beauty brings me peace, what I find beautiful, and I think somebody else mentioned it, it kind of takes your mind away into a really great space. So thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. I don't really know you, but I feel a connection to you because I have a plumber here too. So, in fact, I was like, please don't make noise during my workshop. So, hopefully that will happen. But if you hear beating, you'll know what it's about. So, anybody else? If not, you can feel free to put stuff in the chat. Okay, we can move on then, Dawn. Let's get to the workshop. Yay. All right. So the definition for erasure poem is, and it's also known as blackout poems or found poems. Erasure poetry is a form of found poetry wherein a poet takes an existing text, erases, blacks out, or otherwise obscures a large portion of the text, creating a wholly new work from the remains. So that part's really important, the last part, because, it should be different. It shouldn't be, exactly the same. So kind of think of it like recycling, where plastic bottles become water bottles, or extra wood from a project becomes a table. So you're like taking something and recycling it into something different. And you can use pretty much anything for source text. You can use a classic novel, a newspaper, a piece of junk mail, an old letter, your own poetry. But it is often text that would otherwise be considered unpoetic, like a science text or junk mail, village pamphlets, or political speeches. Next. History. So the earliest known blackout poetry example hails from Benjamin Franklin's neighbor, Caleb Whiteford, who would publish redacted versions of the papers using puns flowing across the text to create new meaning in the pages. So I haven't read any of his things because I have this soap opera story going in my head that like he was jealous of Ben Franklin and he was really the writer, but Ben got all the women and accolades. I don't know if that's true, but I'm sticking with it. But a good example of it is the New York Times in 1929, after the stock crash, took Emily Dickinson's "Because I Could Not Stop for Death, It Kindly Stopped to Me," and the front page had "Because I Could Not Stop for Debt, It Kindly Stopped for Me." So I think that was like a clever example of a poem. Then it pretty much died down until the Dada movement, where they continued with creative play with physical text in which artists express surreal, absurd, and existential thoughts through the interplay of words and images. And this was in direct response to World War I. So, like, my favorite Dadaist person is Man Ray. He takes these photographs and superimposes other images. And that's kind of, Dadaism is kind of the beginning of when, surrealism and expressionism and absurd, that all kind of came into play. And then it kind of continued again with the beat poets. William Burroughs was very famous for taking things and just switching them around, doing whole novels and just throwing them in the air across the floor and then rearranging them in a different order. And I know Dawn has talked about before, like when he's teaching, he has kids just open the book and kind of start from there. So it's kind of that theory too. Next. There was also a rise in erasure poetry in the 60s, and this was aligning with the broader conceptual art movement, which often focused on the ideas behind the artwork rather than the traditional aesthetics. So basically, during the 60s, the whole idea of sticking it to the man kind of blurred over into art. And so in the way that the artists were really rebelling against traditional art and doing as much conceptualization as possible. This movement again rose in the 20th century with Austin Kleon. He produced a best-selling book called Newspaper Blackout, which is all just blackout poems. Next. So there's 6 styles of erasure. There's actually probably more, but we're going to kind of just focus on these 6. Next. So the one that's most familiar is the cross out one. So this one is one I did that's actually in my book. So, and I'm gonna say this a couple of times. Make sure you make a note of your source before you start blacking out. Because I wasn't thinking I was going to put any in my book. And then, so I did these blackout poems, but I had blacked out the author. So I had to like research again, like, where did I get this? Next. So another one is computer manipulation. So poets use computer software to manipulate source text using a software program as a tool to manipulate it. So on this one, someone just took something that was on CNN and turned it into a poem. My brain is a stunning joke. Next. So I actually had my husband do this because I am not good technically, but this was my flyer for this workshop. So he basically manipulated it with a Word program. And then, you know, I posted it on Instagram with Tom Waits' Martha. Next. Okay, so this is cut out. This is fun too. This is where you physically cut out words and then paste them to make the poem. Next. This is called a cover up. So you get certain textiles. This one, I don't know what this is, like seeds maybe. You could do seeds or beans or candy wrappers. You just take, you know, whatever you want and cover up areas and create the poem that way. Next. This is a retype. And so what you do here is what you do is typing so that the unread words are gone completely rather than simply obscured. So basically what you do is you do a blackout poem and then you retype it, but keeping the same shapes that you left the words in, but it's just the words in white spaces. Next. So this is visual. I kind of talked to Robert before because like my daughter was like, this one actually counts, but I had another one that wasn't an example. It was actually a cat made out of words, which you can still do stuff like that, like draw characters and then black out the rest of the words around. So this is a visual one. The writer incorporates additional visual elements such as collage, drawing, and other aesthetic decorations. And I can't get this. You know what I'll do? I also included this link that has poetry film. So if we have time at the end, I'll play it or I'll put it in the chat because it's a good example of visual film through visual poem through film. Next. So found poem and plagiarism. My mother, who was an English teacher for 40 years, was shocked and called me a blasphemer when she saw me like blacking out in a book because she just was like, how can you desecrate a book? So because of that, I incorporated this part. Is erasure poetry cheating or plagiarism? William S. Burroughs argued a collage of words read and heard and overheard. And, you know, it's basically the idea that no writer begins exclusively with a blank page. We all are, just like we talked about what what inspires us. We are inspired by other artists and writers and nature. So it's kind of the idea of like nothing is new, but it's how you, as a unique artist, create things. And you risk plagiarism if you just merely copy, summarize, paraphrase the source. Poems offer unique word arrangements and new meaning. The borrowed words may be unrecognizable in the context of the found poem. So you're really trying to, like I gave that example of the Emily Dickinson pun, that's really changing the original form. So it's not this somber poem about death coming to get you. It's kind of this joke about how everybody in 1929 ended up being in debt. And like I said earlier, make sure you write down your source material because it's important to credit them. As you saw in the one I did in my book, I credited the author and the name and what publication I got it in. Next. Okay, now we get to the fun start. So we are going to take, let's see, it's 3:41. Let's say we come back at 3:50. So what I want you to do is collect what other materials you want. So poems, books, newspaper, get a thick black marker. Also get a notebook to write something new. If you want to do a cutout one, get scissors and glues and construction paper or whatever you feel in the mood, and then we'll come back and regroup at 3:50, and then we'll work on our poems and share if you feel like it. Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for running the slides so far, Dawn.
All right, we'll reconvene in 10 minutes.